All right, it's about that time to take a walk into the world of the papers, the headlines, the stories making the rounds. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station. 31 minutes past 7 a.m. It's a feel-good Friday morning, 7th day in the month of February 2025. Ayokunmi right here, ready to, walk along with you as we take a look at the stories, we get analysis, we get your thoughts as well. We love to hear from you each and every single time we take a look at the papers. So all you need to do is to send your messages into us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 That is the WhatsApp number. You can also join us on YouTube where we're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Drop your comment there and I'll take it along as we get along. Talking about I'm not alone, of course not. On a Friday, joining me as they always do, Bozimo and of course Joseph Obari. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Great to have you on.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Joseph. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. Let's have a fantastic Friday.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, listeners. Ayo, good to see you again.
Good to see you too as well, Joseph. And of course, as I always say, for those who would love to join us on YouTube as well, it's not just to drop your comments, it's all about architecture as well. For those who love buildings, who love structure, who love to see the beautiful facades and all that, AB once again has a beautiful building as his background. So if you love to see what building that is, hey, jump on YouTube. It's a two-way thing. You get to see a beautiful building and drop your comments as well. All right, let's get this show on the road. And Joseph, I'm coming to you with this one, coming out of the punch. We're more or less talking about this a couple of seconds ago before we came on the air. And it has to do with the honorable members of our House of Representatives. The Committee on Constitutional Review on Thursday, no, they proposed the creation of 31 new states in the country. Now, if the proposal scales through Nigeria, the Nigerian states will be made up of 67 sub-national governments. Now, this proposal for new states was contained in a letter read during Thursday's plenary session by the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, who presided over the session in the absence of the Speaker, Mr. Tajuddin Abbas. So the committee has proposed 6 new states for the North Central, 4 in the Northeast, 5 in the Northwest, 5 in the Southeast, 4 in the South-South, and 7 in the Southwest. A proposal for 31 new states. The 36 we have now are growing under heavy burdens of debt, inability to perform their fiscal responsibilities. And the proposal is, hey, instead of fixing the issues concerning what we have, more states is the solution. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Well, we're not doing this to ourselves. Our legislators are doing it to us because they are looking through their narrow prism of their personal political ambitions. They want to create serfdoms for themselves, places where they can become governors, where they can become whatever they want to become. And because Nigerians are easily deceived, they feel that breaking the country into smaller bits, right down to their village, create a state for my village, the Nigerians will feel elated and happy that this proposal is being made and that they are creating new states for them. Meanwhile, the ones that we have currently are terribly mismanaged. They are all like you said, they are owing debts, they are unable to pay workers, they are not viable, in fact, even though they have huge potentials for development and growth, agriculture, tourism, whatever they have, none of it is being explored. And when you come up with policies that for example, the tax regime of the new government of Tinubu's administration that seems to put some pressure on states so that they can really rake up whatever is available within their territory. They become agitated. The governors are blackmailing the federal government because they don't want to do anything. They want to just sit down and collect money and squander it, and so these legislators, one word describes all of this: they are delusional. They are simply delusional because if they know the truth, of course they know the truth, but they don't want to see it. They don't want to look at it from that. They're looking at it purely from their personal interest, their personal political interest. And it's narrow, selfish, and delusional.
Mm. AB, some people would argue that creating more states, it would bring governance closer to the people and so on and so forth. Does that argument hold any water from your perspective?
Absolutely none whatsoever. Right now, we have a structure. If you want to get governance closer to the people, use the proper local governments. You can do that. You don't need a new letterhead with some titular person calling himself or herself governor to get governance. You see, the National Assembly of Nigeria is the smallest collection of people paid the most to do the least for the largest African populace. They are an absolute, in this regard, total waste of Nigeria's time, energy, and especially money. There is nothing compelling that should make a set of people who collectively share one brain actually propose states when right now we don't have lights, we don't have functional roads, we don't have a good healthcare system. 90 something percent of them have their children outside of this country where they want to create states. I've never seen delusional is a compliment.
All right, delusional is a compliment. Let's get your perspectives on this. Let's get your thoughts in on this particular story. This one very interesting. So send the messages into us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. Ibiladi Ambo in Badagry says, apart from the Southeast that needed one more state to square up with the other regions of the country, why are they creating more states when majority of the existing ones can barely function as administrative units in a federation? Your guess is as good as mine. All right, AB, let's get things along and talk about something that is probably going to be more beneficial to the Nigerian people along the line, heading into the vanguard. Now, Tunji Alausa, the Minister for Education, is advocating the adoption of a 12-year basic education model to scrap secondary schools in Nigeria. Now, the minister spoke on Thursday at the 2025 extraordinary meeting of the National Council on Education, NCE, in Abuja. Now, the meeting hosted the commissioners for education from the 36 states and the FCT, MDAs, and other development partners. Now, Alausa said phasing out the 6334 model, which we have been using, well, rather loosely for a long time, and introducing a 12-4 system will reform education in Nigeria to align with global standards. Now, as we know, Nigeria operates the 6334 education system where the child enrolls in school at age 6 and undergoes 6 years each of primary and secondary school education. And at the end, they're expected to be aged 18. Now, this proposal by the Minister of Education, like I like to say he's one of the most recent ministers to have taken office, and he's putting this forward. AB, will this make any changes in Nigeria's educational system, or is this still part of putting the cart before the horse, or what do you think this is going to achieve?
A couple of days ago, 17 children died in Zamfara, and 16 or 17 of them are seriously injured. It is revealed that that school, one of the so-called Almajiri schools, had children who are burning sticks to stay warm. It is likely that the school has no light, no water, no nothing. When you talk about putting a cart before a horse, it actually means you think you recognize what a horse looks like and what a cart looks like. There seems to be absolutely no purpose in this proposal that addresses the core issue. What are we actually trying to educate our populace for? My father tells me about how he did standard this and standard that and learned Latin. I am old enough to have done from 1 to 5, etc. Just as I was leaving school, they entered the 6334. At the end of the day, it is numbers. What are you teaching us? What purpose? To what purpose are Nigerians being educated? What problems are we being trained to solve? I've talked before about how I went for Take Your Child to Work Day at the World Bank once, and I met this 8 or 7 year old boy doing a small experiment, and he was talking about how, the logistics of so and so. And I thought, what is it? An 8-year-old doing with the word logistics, first of all. And he wasn't just, he was talking about it in terms of what he was doing, was explaining to me how many of our 8-year-olds can sit down and give me that kind of reasoned conversation. You would think of STEM, you think of STEAM, you think of all the things. Let's stop window dressing and understand the problems we have and create the populace to tackle those problems and solve them. It matters not to me whether it's 6, 3, 3, 4, 12, 4, 5, 5, 5, and 50, whatever it is. If we are not getting people educated so that, first of all, they have the fundamentals, math, English, and so on. And then you enter the classics, you enter, heavier science to solve problems. And after that, when you do that 634, are the universities there? Is it not UCH that has no light? I don't know whether they have got light now. Is this not a country where we choose to add some money to a budget instead of using that money to electrify, even if it's our university system? You do realize that this internet we're using is a result of a government program where they said they wanted to connect all government things to have research. We are not contributing to the world, except in terms of carbon, what they call it, when we fly our jets all over the country from Nigeria to France,
emission.
en route to Ethiopia, carbon emissions, when we are going to Ethiopia and we go through France. And I'm talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm not stuttering. We are wasting the world's time as an African nation. And I heard that we're trying to get 500 and something million naira yet again as another loan. What is wrong with us? So listen, the numbers they are talking about are immaterial. The content of that education is at the core. Is it able to create citizens who can tackle the problems? And I would argue that one of the biggest problems with Nigeria are the leaders. The only natural disaster Nigeria suffers from are leaders who propose 31 new states when they have not managed the 36 that exist.
Interesting thoughts there, AB. Joseph, I mean,
The thing is, I mean, Ibis just said it all. You've given the basic infrastructure for why we live in the 633 system, right? 633 system was supposed to be comprehensive. Junior secondary is supposed to have vocational elements where you mean that in secondary school you are introduced to carpentry, you're introduced to skills that you can actually leave school with and earn a living, right? So there was nothing really wrong with it, but we couldn't implement it. We could not. Even the few schools that built those workshops for those kind of things, technical drawing and carpentry and all that, they all just were not maintained. So it is not the number, like AB said, it's not the number, it's not the name you call it. It is a country can decide also, okay, this is what we want to do, and face it and do it. In our own case, I just think that this minister is looking for some distraction. So we all
Headlines.
argue and debate this man for all, and then we leave the schools decaying, we leave the schools unfenced, we leave the school children sitting on the floor, and so on and so on. And then
No
the training of
roofs.
teachers is zero. You know, invest nothing at all in investment of teachers, in terms of training or quality of teachers. Well, you have teachers who can't speak English, who can't write anything. Teachers who teach children to say fake instead of fork. That's the kind of
Simple.
education we have. So the key issues, the real issue at stake in our quality of education is not being discussed. It's just, these are distractions as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let's keep things going on here. And talking about possible distractions, I just wonder, Joseph, let's talk some legal matters here in Edo State, and I'm glad I have you on today to actually give us some give us some context to this one. Heading into the Daily Post, the Independent National Electoral Commission, I beg your pardon, INEC has closed its case before the Edo State Governorship Election Tribunal without presenting a witness. Now, INEC's legal counsel formally moved to close its case without presenting any witnesses. Now, this is a motion accepted by the tribunal. So the commission will be relying solely on cross-examinations and arguments from the All Progressives Congress, APC, and Governor Monday Okpebholo's lawyers as well. Now, as we all know, the PDP, mounted a challenge to the election results following INEC, accusing INEC of orchestrating widespread irregularities and vote manipulation. And it's interesting, Joseph, that what was said about the witnesses, I think five of them couldn't make it down because they were stuck in Benin or something like that. That's interesting. What is your take on this matter, and can you give us some perspective as to where we are?
Now, the truth simply is that it's within the rights of INEC not to close this case anywhere, at any time they want to. The lawyers have a right to say, okay, we've had a case, we are not presenting anybody else. But just like they said, they are claiming they had a difficulty getting the witnesses to court.
Mm.
But importantly, I think it's a tag team. INEC is actually working closely with APC in this before the tribunal, which is unfortunate. Most of the time, it happens like that. That INEC tries to defend the result it has presented or announced. So in most cases, you find out that whoever has been declared to win election and INEC work together. So we want to see a situation where INEC stands on its own independently, as the name says, Independent Electoral Commission, that it stands on its own and fights its case solidly. But all the time we find that whoever INEC announces as winner of the election they always back the person's legal team. They work together. In some cases, they actually work to frustrate the cases of the petitioner or who is aggrieved. So INEC will prevent you from getting access to examine evidence. They will put all kinds of roadblocks on your part. But it is within their legal right, and in terms of legal processes, for the lawyers to say at this point, the guy isn't submit that they don't have anything. Well, it's within their right. But I think that PDP has got a very strong case there. If they are able to push their case very strongly, it will be interesting to see the outcome of this tribunal and their case in the tribunal. And if they're able to bring that evidence to prove their case strongly, then they have a very solid case. So it's a process that we need to watch very keenly and see what is. It's an interesting drama there in those states.
I think drama is the absolute right word to use. I mean, when Nigeria is concerned, almost everything is some sort of a drama. I don't know whether it's something ingrained in us, but hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. All right, AB, let's talk about some health matters. We're going to take a walk into the Guardian right now. And Vice President Kashim Shettima says that patients from the United States and other countries are thronging, yes, that's the word used, thronging Nigerian hospitals to seek affordable and high-quality kidney transplants. Now, Shettima said this on Thursday during a courtesy visit by the Nigerian Association of Nephrology at the Presidential Villa in Abuja ahead of the association's 37th scientific conference. According to the vice president, Nigeria is witnessing a surge in reverse medical tourism. Now, he attributed the choice for treatment to affordability and high quality expertise within the country's medical community. Now, what I will say is, okay, the fact that people are coming into Nigeria for their kidney transplants, it's a good thing. We know Nigerian doctors are among the best in the world, anywhere in the world, and we know that these are things that people go to other countries, India and so on, to actually do. But take out, or let's put aside the speciality when it comes to nephrology, kidney transplants, and so on. What about the general health sector when it comes to the average Nigerian out there? What do they have to offer? Can they go to hospitals to be able to get the best of the best healthcare? For those who don't have kidney transplants as their issues medically, what do they have to look forward to?
The funniest part of this story was the word thronging. So, according to the vice president, there are lines. People are banging on the Nigerian door, thronging. If you look it up, struggling, kicking and screaming to get into Nigeria, to come to hospitals where there's no lights.
Sorry, get to that.
And, you said something very important. Nigerian medical professionals are world class. This is not debatable. This is true. However, the reason why so many of them leave, it's much more complex than the imagination people have that they want to earn more money. Yes, they want to earn money, but in many cases, they are unable to practice their life-saving craft because of lack of facilities. We just talked about UCH Ibadan, a name most Nigerians have heard from almost birth, having no power. How do you now throng to a place where a lot of the medical facilities, now they talked about a certain medical facility, and I'm not saying there are many hospitals that do manage it, but the price is therefore often so elevated that they may be competitive to people from a richer economy. But you made a good point. People in the country often find these services largely unaffordable because the cost of living is beating us all up. So I mean, the process, people would be screened, I guess. The doctors there and here would connect with each other. And it's good. If people are choosing not to go to India and come to Nigeria, it's not a bad picture. Medical tourism to be a good place noted for medical tourism. The vice president said there should be more investment. From who? From what? From how? People are getting the threat of increased tariff electricity. We got a bit of a reprieve from Dangote recently. We wonder how far that will go. But that may not be on diesel, it may be on petrol. We're just talking about, I think this hype is maybe a bit overblown at this stage. Again, nobody doubts the ability, the capacity, and so on of the medical professionals, but it may not stretch out to ordinary Nigerians who have kidney problems because they cannot afford it. And there are other things, starting from simple malaria and more, that people still suffer from. And they die from in 2025. It's unacceptable. We can do so much better. I don't know whether they visited the vice president in that 21 billion naira house that they recently built for him. But that kind of money should have gone into our health sector. There was a budget I looked at 2, 3, 4 years ago where the entire money allocated to all the federal medical centers was less than what was being used for one hospital that Buhari was trying to build one time, a 14-bed hospital inside Aso Rock. So you see, the priorities are all wrong.
So
And just
my take
Joseph.
on this, my take on this matter is that, yeah, people may be trooping to Nigeria, but have they asked ourselves reasons why? They are coming to private hospitals. Some of these hospitals are very, very well equipped. They are private. They are very expensive. They are upscale. Some of them are in Lagos. I mean, you have one that former Vice President Oshibanjo went to when he was sick and all that. They are top notch. If you go there, but the cost is simply not affordable there. But the second reason why, particularly, let's talk about kidney transplant and all that. The reason why they're coming to Nigeria is there's no law. Nigeria is a market for harvest, illegal harvest, organ harvest. Nigeria is
That's why
a
we have
huge
a top
center
person in jail in London right now.
For illegal organ traffic. So people can come here. There is nothing that stops you from getting somebody and slicing him open and getting his kidney and transplanting and give him some money. People for just a few thousands, hundreds of thousands, people are selling their kidney. Nigerian young people, men and women, are selling their kidneys and selling their vital organs to survive. So why won't they come in? And
Poverty,
nothing
hunger.
there is nothing that stops these people from just taking advantage of our weak system for this. So when they talk sometimes, you feel just sad. You feel this bile in your mouth when you hear somebody as high as the vice president of Nigeria who cannot even understand the issue, the real issue here. What is the protection? We got our own former senator jailed in the UK for attempting to buy his kidney. But in Nigeria, if he had been smart enough, he would have done it here in Nigeria, and nothing will happen.
Simple.
There are many young people going about without some vital organs in Nigeria. No, let's not even go into the assisted birth region where young girls are selling their eggs and all that and surrogate all that. So let's not even go there. But
That's
these
the
people
level. That's the level we're at right now.
they don't even know about it, or they pretend they don't know because it's their friends that are buying these things. Come on.
All right. Let me take a couple of messages, or you know what? Let me take this story before I then take the messages. We'll just try to squeeze this in. Joseph, let's get back into the Guardian, and let's talk about the NDDC. That's the Niger Delta Development Commission. Now they've begun the payment of 50,000 naira monthly stipends to 10,000 indigenous youth from the Niger Delta under its youth internship scheme. Now, Mrs. Selady Thompson Wakama, the Director of Corporate Affairs at the NDDC, disclosed this to journalists in Port Harcourt on Thursday. Now, she explained that the beneficiaries would undergo practical hands-on training across the various organizations for 12 months to develop critical skills. I'll let you take it from here, Joseph, seeing as time is of the essence.
Now, I just respond to this story with this story. I worked in an organization that partnered with NDDC in training young women in the Niger Delta. At an event which we had for that purpose in Warri, they were given what they call starter packs. They had sewing machines, generators, and so on and so forth. They went through training from business management training and all that, and they actually taught the skill, and they were giving mentors and all that. Just as the event was ending, there were buyers outside who bought all those things that were given to the so-called newly trained entrepreneurs. They were all sold. In fact, majority of them, so only few of them actually started the business. They were giving starter packs. They were giving money to start off. They were giving mentors. It's so now we've been there. It's a rabbit hole. At the end of the day, we're just giving. I mean, the amnesty program has been paying Niger Delta youth so for how many years now? So people just sit down, easy money to get. So 50,000 comes in and you just collect it and nothing. So, man, it's a rabbit hole. That's all I can say.
A rabbit
500
hole,
million
deep rabbit
naira a
hole.
month.
Just like that. Let me take messages, really, because at this point in time, my head is spinning. Barrister Danukuda says, we're a confused country. Instead of going back to regionalism to reduce costs of governance and maximally exploit their untapped resources, we are creating more states that are economically unviable. We have really missed it. And Ajayi Oloniluwa says, I'm in support of creating more states, but not in the manner being canvassed by the National Assembly. There are some countries in Africa and Europe that are not up to half of the size of many states in Nigeria. All right. Tony from Ikeja says, now that it's time to give the Southeast a state or two to balance the number in other regions, the same bad belly foot soldiers are proposing 1 trillion states for their regions to kill equity. Their brand new standard gauge rail lines, while reluctantly refurbishing Southeast old rail lines to nowhere, aren't enough. One Nigeria is already a failed elementary theory. Okay, that's according to Tony there. Emeka says, just like they changed the national anthem, they propose to change our school model, things that have zero impact in the grand scheme of things. Ian says, this is how you know that as a country, you have entered one chance. When your leaders start making all these clueless proposals, in a country where there's no lights, no medical care, even at the primary care centers, no water, no street lights in the biggest cities of her country, insecurity everywhere, inflation hitting everybody really hard, and all that these jobless folks think about is to create more states. Sad, that is all I can say. Abimbola in Anthony Village says, the medical thronging is towards the private hospitals and not government hospitals without infrastructure, though it's the consultants from the government hospitals that will perform the procedures. True story. Costs are not affordable to Naira, but cheap to the dollar and the pound. That actually is very true. When you look at the figures in reverse, the exchange rate in reverse, then it makes a whole lot more sense. Gilbert Musa says, On creation of new states and remodeling of our educational system. Like what AB said, we should solve the core problems in our society rather than chasing shadows. All right, I think, is there some missing? Okay, I think that's it. Let me see if we can squeeze one more in. Oluwaseyi says 6334 isn't the problem. Implementation, funding, management, and of course, blatant corruption is the problem. They can change to whatever numbers they want, but it would still remain the same as long as the above problems persist. What's even the difference between 6334 and 124? 6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is 12. So what are they changing? The education minister just wants to be noticed. And finally, Shewon Odiase says, thronging. Where's the data? Story, but not fact. You should stop taking the glory of private facilities. As you alluded to, these hospitals mentioned are private entities, not government hospitals. And that is the sad reality that we are living in Nigeria. But it's a brand new day. The sun is shining. Let's hope the sun shines on each and every one of us as we bring Freshly Pressed to a close for the final time this week. Thank you so much to AB and to you, Joseph. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Always.
Thank you so much, Ayo. Thank you, all the listeners. And Sir Joseph, have a wonderful weekend ahead. Happy Friday, all.
Happy weekend, everybody, and stay safe.
Alrighty, and thank you for sharing your messages with us. It's been a pleasure having you join us on the show as always. Do keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1. We're going to talk about sports and all that at 8:15 in the locker room.
All right, guys.
These guys, they never cease